Welcome back to Soju with Sarah. Wait, hasn't been that long. On the menu today at Sarah's Soju Cafe is raspberry yakult soju. So grab your mugs and let's chat about starting over in life. Also season 1.5. Dun da da da. Welcome back, Soju Shotties, to another episode of Soju with Sarah. I'm your host, Sarah, and welcome to season 1.5. To all of my Soju Shotties who have been patiently awaiting for the new season, thank you for being here. I cannot explain the way that I've been missing this podcast, but I feel like sometimes when I'm not sharing stuff on the podcast, there's almost like a void that's created, and I feel like I don't have like the platform to actually share what's going on in my life. Honestly, not that much has changed. I wanted to do season 2 shortly after we ended season 1, but I had so many ambitions, and I feel like I sometimes think a little too fast, or like I take too many steps ahead in my brain before I can actually do stuff. So I had a lot of ideas for season 2, but then I got really busy with life stuff and some big life changes that I will talk about. But yeah, season 2 has been in the works for a long time, and I really missed you guys. So I decided to do a season 1.5. So it's a no expectation season. I just wanted to sit down and talk to you guys on a weekly basis like I used to, because I really missed doing that, and I missed having a platform to share with you guys and kind of connect with you guys. Honestly, I keep meeting you guys in real life, and it's so cute and cool to like say hi to you guys and you telling me that you watch the podcast or you listen. But if you're new here, welcome to Soju with Sarah. I'm your host, Sarah, and this is a podcast about navigating adulthood, your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond. It's a podcast about love, relationships, careers, honestly, anything existential crisis related. So funny story, I was actually going to film this episode a week ago, and I kept delaying it because I've been a little bit in a procrastination mode with my podcast stuff, but I put in my We order this week, and We is like this platform where you can order Asian food and have it delivered to you, kind of like Instacart, but specifically for Asian food. And I got my order, and there was a whole pack of Yakult that I did not order in there. And I took it as a sign that I should film this episode. And I also should have the drink of the day be a raspberry Yakult soju, raspberry soju Yakult, because that's how we started season 1. So now I'm officially going to start every single season with a raspberry Yakult soju because I feel like it's symbolic. So cheers. And if you're drinking something with me, let me know in the comments what you're drinking today. Cheers. So today's episode is the 10 laws of starting over in life. I actually don't know if I'm going to call it the 10 rules of starting over in life or the 10 laws, but that can mean so many different things, whether it's a new career path, a new relationship, and the end of an old relationship, or even just like the desire to start over in life. As some of you guys might know, I quit my job a couple of months ago, and I feel like I've been going through a huge change in my life in many ways, whether it's in my relationship with myself and my partner, or it's my career and my choices that I make, my identity. So many things I feel like have been changing. Some of you guys might know that because I've posted about it on my Instagram, and I think that's just also a season of change. It's the beginning of the school year. People are starting new jobs. And this episode's actually going to be broken down into different rules or laws. My boyfriend James said I should do the 10 commandments, literally in like the tone of the 10 commandments, like thou shall not something. Honestly, this is just a summary of everything I've been thinking about since quitting my job. And I just wanted to share every small reflection and every step of growing and evolving and starting over in life that I've experienced. So yeah, let's get started. Also, if you are a follower of me on my Instagram, I will talk a little bit about everything that I am doing. I'm going to kind of like weave it into the discussion today, but you might know that there's some cool stuff that I'm working on, like a pottery shop drop, commission stuff, life changes, family connecting time. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's get started. Rule 1 I wrote is reduce the noise. Some of you might know this, but when I quit my job in April, I actually didn't share publicly until 2 to 3 months after, but I made the active choice to close myself off to any sort of like external feedback, opinions, comments for at least a couple of weeks, because I just didn't want my opinions to be influenced in any specific way. Like I didn't want people to sway me into thinking that I made the wrong decision. I didn't want to feel guilty for changing my life. I didn't want to feel guilty to anyone else. And something that I found really hard the last couple of years is learning how to stop listening to other people's thoughts. I think because I've been online for so long, it's been 4 5 years at this point. I think I'm so used to always taking feedback and criticism and critique that I almost don't know how to make fully formed decisions for myself without considering other people. And I think this is true of me in real life too, where I take my parents' opinions very strongly. I really do care what they think about what I'm doing with my life. And so when I quit my job, part of the reason why it took so long for me to quit my job was that I just felt tied to other people's thoughts. I think there's 2 reasons why when you're starting over in life, it's good to be a little bit quiet. Is one, you just don't want the influence of other people and other people's opinions to change or sway how you feel about something that you're doing for yourself. The second one is actually, if you're a spiritual person, I do believe in evil eye. Like, I literally have been wearing beads recently, and some of you guys might know that I'm a little bit spiritual. I do believe that other people's negative energy, whether it's jealousy or judgment or desire to impose their opinions on you, can very heavily affect how you feel about things you're doing with your life and also how you're just like leading your life. For some context, for those of you who don't know me and probably don't follow me on Instagram, I quit my job in April and I used to be a software engineer, and I took a more 180 path into leading a more creative life. I've been working in the pottery studio a lot. I've been trying to set up a ceramics shop recently. I have these little tabby incense holders that I'm hoping to drop at the end of the month. And I've also just been trying to lead a more artistic life, a more creative life, and a more fulfilling life for myself. And I realized right before I quit my job that I would be receiving a lot of feedback and opinions once I shared that piece of information. And so I think for a while, I also didn't even share that I had the desire to quit my job. Last year, I was telling friends and people that I knew that I was going to quit my job, and I ended up not doing it. And I think there's many reasons why I didn't do it last year, but this year I decided to just hold it to myself. And I'm glad I did that because I'm so used to always sharing things in the moment. I feel like as a creator, the only way that I feel like I'm evolving with my audience is if I'm changing all the time and I'm sharing updates and new things in my life. And that's not always the case. Like when you end a chapter in your life, there's a lot of downtime and there's this weird period where you feel like there's a gap in everything. Like you don't have anything going for you yet and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing and you're trying to just figure out everything in the moment. And that I feel like is especially crucial to keep to yourself. I see this all the time. I see this in content creators who make life decisions just to please their audience or create drama for their audience. And shade. I'm so sorry. I will not share more about that. I also more recently realized that I know people who also make big life decisions and career decisions based off of what their parents want, which I'm really grateful that my parents never put that pressure on me, but people pivoting their jobs just because their parent wants them to do something, or getting higher education and degrees just because their parents want them to do that. And I just feel like no one is immune to outside noise. So the more that you can do to reduce that, the easier it is to hear yourself, like really, really hear yourself more clearly. I think to put it more concretely, an example is when I had just quit my job and hadn't shared it with my audience, I actually signed up for my pottery membership and I started going into the pottery studio way more often. I was in there so many times a week, which is something that I couldn't do back when I was working corporate and back when I was on the hustle and grind of like posting podcast episodes and posting YouTube videos and working my day job and trying to fit in like pottery studio time in my outside hours. And I got comments here and there where people were like, how do you find so much time to do all this art? And did you quit your job? Like some people did speculate, but because I hadn't shared with people yet that I had quit my job, I really, really took that time to experiment in the studio. And I think if you guys do follow me on Instagram, during that period, I posted every single day just my pottery creations and I was very active on my stories. But when I was in the studio, I didn't feel pressure. And that's what I felt a lot of my life in the last 5 years when I was working corporate, when I was juggling that with my podcast and my YouTube, that I always felt pressure to present. I always felt pressure to output, and I always felt pressure to know what I'm doing at that moment. But no one was asking me what was going on in my life because I hadn't shared any like hints that I had quit my job. And so in that time in my head, it was very peaceful. And I even told James, I was like, oh, I can get used to this life. Like I go to the pottery studio every single day. I'm like working on random things that come to my mind. I had this long running list of ideas I wanted to work on in the studio, and everything felt so quiet and so peaceful. peaceful. And it was in those 2 months that I actually figured out the small things that I like to make. I did this mini Pinterest board series where I was just taking things off of my Pinterest board and trying to recreate it. And in that, I started making these mini shoes, and those shoes became something else. And then people started asking me for that. And that gave me a lot of direction. I was able to focus my attention less on what updates am I going to have to share, what output am I having for the people that know that I just quit my job and I want to prove to them that I'm doing something with my time that's worthwhile. My attention shifted from that into how can I spend my time doing something that I really love? How can I spend my time creating things that I told myself I never had the space to create? It was a time that came with a lot of space, clarity, and peace. And when I finally shared that I quit my job, a lot more of the noise came back in. And I actually had moments where I was questioning all the things that I feel like I didn't have to confront, which is like the guilt of quitting my job, the purging state of quitting my job, which is the next rule actually, and all those things that I could kind of like put off for the time being while I was figuring out what I wanted. So once you reduce the noise eventually does come back. And that leads me to rule number 2, which I think was the scariest part of my journey, at least when I was pressing reset on my life. So rule number 2 is accept the purge. / the purging stage. I actually got thinking about this recently because I started adapalene. It's a form of retinol that is anti-aging but also helps with acne and TMI. But when I got back from one of the weddings that I went to right after quitting my job, I broke out so badly and I thought life would get better once I quit my job. But then I got this huge influx of like acne and it ruined my skin. And then I was freaking out and decided to start tretinoin. But then I did some research and started a different form, which is called different/adapalene. But anyways, if you are a user of tretinoin or any form of retinol, you know that there's a long purging stage. And I know this because back in high school, I had tried tretinoin because my primary doctor told me to start it. I had really bad acne back then. But then I purged so badly for weeks on end and I decided to stop it. And I didn't realize that you're actually supposed to put it on very slowly. Like you're supposed to acclimate to it and allow your skin to learn and adjust to the new routine. But I was just throwing it onto my skin like moisturizer every single day when I was in high school. Yeah, was not good for me. Actually, I think this was in middle school. I had acne throughout my whole childhood. But besides that point, I got started with this new skincare routine a couple of weeks ago and I did it the right way this time. You're supposed to just put it on like once a week starting off and then slowly up the ante. But my tretinoin got me thinking about this specific concept of purging. Pressing reset on your life literally makes you feel like you're losing so much of your life at once. And I see this in people who leave relationships, for example. You feel like you're losing a whole part of your identity or a whole part of yourself. You're purging the things that maybe you wanted to get rid of, maybe you didn't want to get rid of. But my skin purging made me think about how important it is to push past the purge stage. Because if you don't push past this period where things feel like it's getting worse, before it's getting better, all you do is you just go through a tough period and then you bounce back into your old state. And that's what it felt like when I was purging in middle school, where I had terrible skin. I felt like tretinoin ruined my skin and then I stopped it before it could start getting better. And I just told myself, I guess tretinoin doesn't work for me and I guess my skin will never get better. There's something called the trends theoretical model, which models the stages of change. There's different steps and I'm going to look off to the side just so I can accurately tell you guys what they are. But first there is pre-contemplation. This is the stage where you haven't actually decided to make a change with yourself, whether it's like behavioral or in your life, but it's like a thought that comes to mind. Stage 2 is contemplation, where you're actually more seriously considering making a change. This can apply to anything. It can be literally you deciding to quit a bad habit, you changing up your life in a certain way, moving to a new country, breaking up with someone. Then there's the preparation phase. I feel like these are all very like literal. Like you can tell exactly what it means, but you're actually preparing yourself to make a change. The 4th step is action, where you take action on that and you actually do the thing you said you would do. And then maintenance, because after you make a change, there's more to it. There's a lot of hard work to maintain the state, the behavior, the habit, the life change that you want for yourself and to actually see that come to life. But with this model, there's this idea of relapsing or recycling, which is bringing you back to an older stage. You know, if you're a smoker and you're deciding that you want to quit smoking, you might be starting to look into alternatives and starting to look into the journey of quitting. You might actually start preparing, but then the preparation might be a little bit tough. It might be too much work. And then you jump back to the contemplation stage where you just keep telling yourself that you might do this and thinking about it as an option. And it might even take you back to pre-contemplation where you think it's not the right decision right now. You think it might be too much work and you're just not taking it as seriously. So I wanted to just share that very briefly, because if you feel like it's hard and in the process that you're going through something that it feels very tough and you feel the inclination to bounce back, just know that it's a very common thing to want to relapse. Purging is so hard. And I can tell you that from a skin perspective for the last couple of weeks, I finally feel like I'm starting to reap the benefits of sticking to the skincare routine. But the second thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of purging is I felt a really deep purge on my YouTube channel. And I kind of expected this. And this goes back to rule number 1 about reducing the noise. And this is partly why I did want to reduce the noise and not tell people that I quit just yet, is because I was anticipating a huge purge on my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, I've been doing YouTube for 5 years. It's actually the first big thing I've done for myself in terms of my career. I know that some people don't see it as like a legitimate career path or like respectable form of a hobby, but I really spent so much time and energy pouring myself into building up my YouTube channel. But near the tail end of my YouTube channel, it really became something that I had not wanted it to be, which is more career and software engineering focused, because that was my profession. But I was very unhappy with my YouTube channel for a while. I think the last 2 years since I started doing a lot more like workday and work week content, I felt like I was just only sharing about this side of me that was my career, my 9 to 5. I reduced all of my creative stuff down to basically nothing. I didn't do any creative stuff anymore when the original premise of my YouTube channel was built off of like crafty stuff, DIYs, art videos, fashion videos, random things that I really enjoyed that I felt represented me way more. But when I quit my job, part of why I wanted to keep quiet and keep silent is because I just knew that there would be a huge purge. Like, a good chunk of my audience, I think half of the audience that I've built on YouTube, watch me purely for my software engineering lifestyle videos. And I knew there would be a lot of judgment and opinions about me quitting my job. And I'm not saying this out of pity or like, woe is me. Like, I actively started posting more about my career because it just was the only thing that I had time to share. But I lamented this for so long, and I really was going back and forth in my head about what to do in this period, because basically I knew that there would be a loss. Like, I knew that some people would unsubscribe. I knew that people would throw opinions my way because other of my friends in the same space who have like left their job or made a career change have gotten like hate and very like negative emotions redirected towards the creator. So anyways, I was anticipating a lot of opinions when I shared, and I'm really grateful because I feel like a lot of people have been really kind to me. However, there are still the occasional mean comments about how I'm ruining my life and I'm going to regret this, and how I didn't deserve to have that career for so long and so many people would die for that career, and just all this noise that came back when I shared. And also every single time I post a video now, which personally, in my opinion, I feel like my videos have been better and I've been putting way more love and care into them and actually trying to be more authentic. But every single time I post, I lose at least 100 subscribers. It's been like weeks on end of like the subscriber count going down. But that's the purging stage. And I felt bad about it the first time that I posted a video right after I announced I quit. And I saw the numbers start going down, and I was really like, oh man, like, should I have been more considerate of my audience? Should I have been leaning more into tech after I quit? Like, all these random thoughts that I knew I would have once I announced that I quit my job. But then I got over it because I realized that the purging stage is literally what helps you get to the next stage. It literally helps to clear your state and give you a fresh start and a new beginning. And if there are people online that resonated with my previous chapter, but not my new chapter, they don't have to always love it. If you're an author, you might write a teenage romance book that is a hit with younger people. But if you want to explore sci-fi or other forms of like writing or novels or genres, you don't have to feel like you're tied to the audience that knew you from that specific series and book. And so all that I'm trying to say is it felt bad to purge like literal people, like audiences that have known me for years. But I also think that it's a step in the right direction, because would those people have stayed along in 10 years if I decided to do something similar or if I decided to change my life then? Probably not. And especially relating to the concept of scarcity mindset, which we've talked about in another episode, like way back. I think if you have scarcity mindset, the purge feels so bad. Like it literally feels like you're shedding things that you don't want to shed. But if you try to have an abundance mindset, you'll realize that there's so much more room to gain back. Like I think the most rewarding thing for me in my current time right now is lately I've been sharing a lot more ceramic stuff because that's what I've been really passionate about in this chapter of my life. And I've been getting so much more love on Instagram, especially because right now I've been putting out a lot more content on Instagram. I literally shared my first commission, which was for the brand Timberland, and I've been getting so many ceramics artists following me and artists and people in the creative space. But I've just been so blessed to be connecting with new people on the internet, and the internet is so big. And so when I think about the purge that I've been going through and how bad I feel about losing audiences, I always keep reminding myself that there's so much more to gain from doing this. Like, it's not just about what you're losing, but also what you get to gain. Like, I've connected with so many more artists, like ceramics artists, designers, other creatives online, just because I've been sharing a new chapter of myself that didn't really seem similar to my previous chapter. So I guess all I'm saying is things feel tough before they feel easy. And you can't build sorry to throw so many analogies your way, but you can't build a home on a shaky foundation. Sometimes it's better just to like uproot it and build from scratch again, and it's okay. Things will be better. I need to speed through because I literally had this problem when I was doing season 1 where I would like film for 3 hours and it would be so much stuff. This next rule is actually something that I started saying at home. And I actually want to do this in a series form, but it's called BOGRO, buy one, get rid of one. And this is very similar to the previous law or rule that I said, which is just to accept when things are being purged or leave your life. But I think this one's more active and more action oriented, which is you need to be decisive about what you're letting go. So the previous one was accept what to let go, and this one is to decide what to let go. BOGRO is actually a term that I started saying because I think as you get older, you start accumulating a lot more, whether it's in the home or in clothing, shoes, random things. I feel like I have a lot of clothes that I've accumulated over the years and some things I don't even wear. But lately, if I'm getting something new, James will tell me, BOGRO, buy one, get rid of one. Because I told him a couple of months ago that I wanted to donate something, sell something, get rid of something every single time that I buy something new, just to avoid the hoarding tendency that I feel like my parents instilled in me growing up, where you just are too scared to let go of anything. But I feel like mentally it's really good to clear the clutter. So if we apply BOGRO into your mental state as you're going through a transition, you don't want to hold on to everything. Also, I think BOGRO can apply to anything. Like it can be a physical thing that you're letting go of, whether it's, I don't know, things that your ex bought you that you don't really want to keep anymore, or it could be emotional, like letting go of some attachments and some emotional things that you carried. A lot of the times that could be like emotional burden. It could even be the feeling of stability. I know leaving corporate, a huge change in your mental state is the feeling of stability. And that's something that I've had to feel adjustment towards. But I also have been trying very actively to be okay with that, to accept and decide to let go of stability for a while. Honestly, for me, when I quit my job, I actually was planning to do more YouTube and planning to just keep the output of like content, because I was like, well, if I'm taking away one of my jobs, I really need to keep something else going, you know, to pay my rent and everything. But I always go back to this thought that James, my boyfriend, talked about when we were talking about him quitting his job to pursue his artistic passions and dreams. We did this episode like a year ago. I actually quit exactly 6 months after he quit. So for him, his 1 year's coming up and my half year is coming up. So we're kind of doing this together, which is really nice. But I go back to something that he said in his episode, which is, why did I work and save up money for so long and for so many years working corporate and doing something I didn't want to do, if not to be able to set myself up to do something that I want to do? And so when I quit my job, I actually decided to quit YouTube temporarily, and I had a few things in the pipeline in terms of brand deals. Like the way I actually make money off of doing content is brand deals, unfortunately, because I don't really enjoy doing them, but I've been trying to do them better nowadays because I have the liberty to be a better creative and I want to be. But back then when I just quit my job, it felt really bad, but I decided to cancel all my brand deals. I wanted to make an active decision to give myself space. And if I was posting videos just for the heck of it, just to get a paycheck, I knew I would be forcing myself down these rabbit holes of making content that I didn't want to make, trying to pretend that I'm doing software engineering when I'm not. And I think it was like very tough letting go of that. Going into the thought of having an abundance mindset, I've really been trying to push myself to have that recently. It's hard though. It really is hard making the change from always feeling like there's scarcity to accepting that there are more opportunities and more things down the line. But yeah, I think in this rule, I just wanted to say that when you take a leap of faith, you need to create space for your new life to come in. Whether it's a new person, a new lifestyle, a new identity, you have to let go of attachments, physical, mental, emotional, so that new opportunities and new things can come in. In retrospect, I am very glad that I decided to quit everything. Like I quit corporate and YouTube both, because in the 2 months that I gave myself that peace and that quiet to work on projects in the pottery studio, I ended up outputting a lot in terms of sharing things that I wanted to share and creating things that I wanted to create. And through those many, many little things that I put out, I actually was able to get my first commission. I think the universe is always working to protect you, but this was like the most exciting thing that had happened to me in many months, because I felt like I was, one, running low on opportunities to quote unquote capitalize on this moment, and two, feeling a lot of guilt for not wanting to capitalize and not wanting to make the most of like my quitting journey and different things like that. But when this opportunity came in to do my first commission, and it was with a brand that I had always loved so much, I just felt like that was the universe telling me that I was doing the right thing and that it's okay to let things and opportunities pass, because more will come down the line. If you guys do want to see my commission, I have it pinned on my Instagram. I'm so proud of it. It's probably the thing that I am most proud of in the last couple of months that I've done. But yeah. By the way, I am in all pink today because Soju with Sarah colors. If you're watching the video, I have this nice little mesh dress on. Okay, rule number 4 is that you have to realize that you are on the second or third or fourth mountain. This is very, very loosely inspired by the book The Second Mountain by David Brooks. Also, let me know if you guys would be interested in a book club. I think that would be so cute. I actually haven't read this book before, but I've heard about the concept, which I think is what inspired this train of thought. But in the book, they kind of talk about how most people climb this first mountain of life, which is usually rooted in all the external stuff, whether it's success or status or your ego or finances, like things that I feel like we're told are things that we should pride ourselves in. But once you're done climbing that mountain, I feel like I'm saying mountain incorrectly, but once you're done climbing that mountain, there's more mountains. Like there's a second mountain that you climb, which is more rooted in like your purpose in life and what you want. And I think community was one of the things that he mentions in that book. But there's this question of fulfillment and what the mountain one provides you, which is usually not like ultimate fulfillment in life. I feel like this happens a lot with people who work corporate. The first couple of years, you might find purpose in climbing the corporate ladder, in achieving more success, earning more money, building up your lifestyle. But once you have that for many years, you start feeling really empty because your life is lacking certain elements that are important, whether it's purpose, fulfillment, community, and random things. I didn't have too much that I wanted to say with this, but I just wanted to remind you guys that when you start over in life, or you press reset, or you just take a leap of faith, you're trekking down a different mountain now, most of the time. Sometimes you might be continuing the previous journey that you were on, but most of the time, this is something completely new, and you're going to be facing new challenges, new people, new experiences that you can only anticipate once you get there. So be open to the journey and allow yourself to experience this new mountain. I don't know if that was poetic. That could have been really tacky and cringy, but we'll leave it in. This next one I think is really important because I have been stuck in a little bit of a mindset where I don't see the work that I do sometimes. I think this is true of creative work and non-creative work. Also, side note, I got a comment the other day that really got my blood boiling because going back to like the purging state, I am more accepting of the fact that I'm purging audiences and people who used to watch me and my journey, because sometimes I get comments like this and I'm like a little like taken aback that people have these opinions. But some guy commented that software engineering is more creative than doing art. And then he followed to say that a lot of people see it as a blue collar job, but it's not. And I just feel like both of those statements are not very accurate. And I feel like for the longest time, I've heard and felt narratives of art and creative fields not being respectable or not being intellectually stimulating, or just like random things that I feel like the creative space does not get the respect that it deserves. I do want to talk about this at some time, but I don't want to get too heated for our first episode back. That's just a side note that just like reminded me of that. But I wanted to tie that back into this rule, which is to acknowledge the silent work. Some days, I'm not gonna lie, some days when I'm doing what I am doing right now, which is trying to balance starting up and launching a pottery shop, and then also keeping up with the content and trying to connect with my family and like all the random side things that I do, like side quests that sometimes I help James on his stuff. I just feel like I don't see my output as much as I thought I would. But I wanted to say that there is a lot of silent work and prep work that goes into building your dream life in your career. A lot of the times we might see people blow up out of nowhere, especially in like the entertainment and music space. I wanted to use Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter as examples because I feel like people have been circulating their stories on the internet, but they literally have been in the industry for many years. I think upwards of a decade or more than a decade for both of them. And only the last like year or two have they really gotten the respect and admiration that they've deserved. What's true of their story and what I hope is true of like my story and my boyfriend's story and all the creatives out there that take a leap of faith is when you're not getting the recognition you deserve, or you feel like you're starting over and things feel rough and things aren't playing out the way you want to, you're still doing work. You're still learning the ropes of something new, whether it's a skill or you're building out a business, and nothing ever goes to waste. Like, I'm a huge proponent of that. Like, I don't think that anything you do in life is ever wasted. I might look at my career on paper and be like, I'm not doing any sort of coding or software engineering, but I think all the like logical stuff that I learned in the 5 years of working in corporate tech is translating very well into technical things, whether it's like me building out a website or me thinking about a solution or a hack to work around something that's broken. Like literally my first commission that I broke, I had to be scrappy and try to find a new solution to fix it. But I think that is true of like Chappell and Sabrina's careers too, that all the years that they weren't recognized as artists the way that they are now, they're building their image, they're building who they are as an artist and as a human. And I think like you see the output of that as an audience, as someone that sees them, you see the output of that as instantaneous. Like, oh, they got lucky, they hit a viral song, they did something right, and it triggered this whole series of like fame and stardom, but many years of silent work. This is my like little hopeful spiel. But I was telling James the other day, there's no way if I'm working really hard on what I'm doing right now, whether it's my pottery studio, my podcast, or other things, that it doesn't turn into something. It could be not as much as I expect, but I just don't think hard work goes to waste completely ever. And I think one thing I want to talk about is taking the shortcut. So currently in my life, I'm trying to play a game of delayed gratification. It's not as fun necessarily than taking shortcuts in life, but I think the longer term result of it is more impactful and meaningful for yourself. And I'll take like an example from content nowadays with short form and the way that social media has changed in the last couple of years. You can more easily tell what will go viral and what is something that can like catapult you more. But I feel like milking the shit out of your relationship is one way that people can really grow on social media, especially if you're funny and like charismatic people. But in the long run, will that be necessarily the best thing for your relationship? Will it be the best for your content career? Will it give you more opportunities? Not necessarily. For some people, it might. But for most people, I don't think milking a relationship that you have is like the best avenue to being a creator. But there are just like things that are shortcuts that I think some people do take on because it gives you like short-term gratification. And maybe because I've been doing this for many years and I kind of saw this in the way that my YouTube channel played out, but taking the shortcut and utilizing something that goes viral in the moment but isn't really true to you is not always the best avenue for long-term success. I say that because when I first started doing content, I went viral for bleaching and like dyeing my hair. That was like my first couple of months of doing content. I think first year actually. And so what did I do to keep the momentum going? I dyed my hair every couple of months and every single one of those videos did so well. And for a while I was like, I can't keep dyeing my hair because it's literally going to burn off of my scalp and it's just not healthy for me and not something I want to do long term. And I think for most people, you try to like maneuver it so that you can eventually do something else with your content. So when I hit like the second wave of that, which was when I started sharing my career content and my career journey, I got the inkling that I didn't want this to be my full identity online. So I actually for a while didn't milk it the way that most creators probably would hop onto it and start pumping out like week in my lives. And for a while, people around me would tell me to do more of that because this would be like a really good key to, gaining followers, getting more views. And it's kind of like a good hack that I can use because I work at a good tech company. So I resisted that for a really long time until I finally started leaning into it because I was like, I don't have that much content to do. And people really just generally like that. And then I started regretting it maybe like a year or two ago because I felt like I was more so chasing what would quote unquote go viral or the types of things that would get you seen more or more visibility. And I think in the long run, the reason I went through that purging stage with my content and a lot of audience members on my YouTube is because I really wasn't accurately depicting myself to people. I was choosing what would be the shortcut to gaining people's favor. I do think there are things that I would have done differently, but I think that's why for me right now, I'm taking this delayed gratification thing really seriously. And I think on the flip side, I'm trying to make this a term but James keeps telling me it makes no sense. But I'm trying to create this concept of delayed degratification, which is when you do things that you know are actively bad for you in the long run, but you still do it. For me, right now, it is literally making banana bread every week with like a whole stick of butter. It tastes so good, but I know it's not good for me health-wise because you literally pour like a cup of sugar, a stick of butter, and like a whole wad of banana into the mix, and it's just not healthy. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. All I want to say is that the silent work is still there when you do things and when you actually like put care into things. I think no one else sees how much work, how many tears, how much effort, how much time you pour into things, especially nowadays because online things seem so quick and everyone's doing the hard stuff because it's much more accessible. There's more resources. But things will feel non-linear. And some days you will feel like you are having no output, and other days you'll feel like you're making a lot of progress. But just remember that the silent work will carry you in the long run. And I think the thing with silent work is in the long term, if you push past the purging, if you continue this journey and climb those mountains that you're on, the silent work will come to fruition. Like it will lead to something really, really great. But that's my little like spiritual spiel today. Rule number 6 is to be brutal about what and who influences you. I think this one doesn't need that much explanation, but when you're going through a new season of your life, I think it's really important to be very critical about how you're spending your time, what you're consuming, whether it's like social media or news or different things like that, or like the people that you're around, what types of mindsets they have. A few notes that I wrote down about this is who you surround yourself with should be a good mix of people who inspire you and push you, as well as peers. I noticed a huge shift when I started doing pottery content in that the warmness of my online community and people that I was connected to online felt like it skyrocketed. Like I felt like I was connecting way more with creative people online in my DMs and in my comments. And I felt more appreciated as an artist than I did when I was doing like tech content. But in actual life, I felt like the people that I had met in this season of my life have influenced me so much more because I've been like allowing people to come into my life. I will say, I've met a lot of people in the pottery studio, and it's really, really motivating, and it warms my heart when someone compliments me in the studio while I'm working on something, even more than like when, my boyfriend compliments me on something, because it means so much to me. Actually, I take that back because I do care when my boyfriend compliments me, but just that you can't always please everyone. And I've seen situations where someone has a dream and a goal and they have friends that don't really support it, or they're not really there as much as other people would be. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that care and people that will show up for you. Rule number 7 is to grieve healthily. I think it is completely normal to grieve your old life, your old partner, your career. I think something that I heard a while ago when I was going through my first breakup actually ever, I heard that the time it takes for you to get over a relationship is somewhere between like a fourth to a half of the time that you were in that relationship. I don't know if that is inaccurate. Also, we're getting a little moosey time. Our pawducer showed up to work today. I don't know if you can see him. I don't know if you can see the pawducer, but his tail's literally here. Oh, And he's purring. But I think there is like some statistic about the time that it takes to like get over a relationship is proportional to the time that you were in the relationship. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Like if something's been constant in your life for 5 years, it's going to take a much longer time to get over it than something that was in your life for a week. And I think it is very healthy and normal to grieve your past self. I will say for me and my job, I actually started grieving way before I left. Like I was living in anticipation of quitting my job, but it's different for everyone. And I think you should accept the grieving process because it does happen. Rule number 8 is to look good while doing it. Honestly, I have been really bad for the last for the last 2 years, I've been really bad about taking care of myself and like presenting myself the way that I feel proud to present myself as. But I don't think it's talked about enough that you should actually feel good about yourself. Like you should take the time to dress up and look good when you're going through change, because how you look on the outside will influence how you feel about yourself on the inside. And I know it's very superficial to say, but at least for me, I want to look good in this stage of my life because it's been many years of caring, but not trying to be the best version of myself. And I think it's okay. It's okay to want to look good, you know? You know that saying where it's like, yeah, my life sucks, but at least I'm hot. Yeah, bitch, you are. Rule number 9 is the identity sandbox. This is also related to the previous one in a little bit of a way. I feel like I wrote these down not intending it for it to kind of flow, but it kind of flows into each other. But basically when you're going through a new stage of your life and you're letting stuff go, starting over, pressing reset, you're gonna be identityless for a while. And I hear this all the time when people are going through a breakup or something big happens in their life where they're losing parts of themselves. But I hear that people don't feel like themselves. They don't know who they are. They feel like they don't have an identity. I think this transitional state, it might feel like a void, but it also can be a very valuable time for you to actually experiment and explore and try to like carve yourself out of nothing in a way. If we're going back to the previous rule, I think it's a great space for you to just like experimenting with your identity. For me lately, it's been like trying to dress differently, trying different types of makeup, trying to experiment with different creative mediums and doing different things with myself, and also trying to like do new things with my hair. Makes me feel like I'm actually making steps in the right direction. I know for me, I'm so early on the journey of figuring out who I am. And right now it feels like I'm starting from ground zero and I'm like building up again. And I actually don't know where my taste lies as like an artist and as a creative, but it's really exciting because I feel like I have the freedom to try different things. Like no one's going to judge me for like changing up the way that I dress or like the types of art that I do because I'm so fresh to it and I'm so new to everything. I think if you look at this time where you don't feel like you have an identity as less of a intimidating thing and less of a scary like who am I question and more of a how can I explore who I want to be question, it reshapes the way that you're looking at change. And it also helps you in a way like reclaim who you are, reclaim your identity. So yeah, that's all that I want to say there. And then rule 10 is the culmination of everything and all the rules above. I might have missed some rules because I just wrote this down last night at midnight. But I think rule 10 is eventually you will become the person that you set yourself to be, even though it feels so slow. If you go through every single stage of purging, lack of identity, making active decisions to let go of things, change is inevitable. I was literally telling James this the other day. He was showing me something that he was working on, and I was remarking on how impressed I am at everything he's been doing recently. He is so much faster and quicker about creative concepts and like bringing things to life. And a year ago, I wouldn't say I am James's biggest fan, but I will not gas him up when I feel like he's doing stuff that other people are doing. Like I'm actually a very critical person and I give feedback where feedback is due, and I'm proud of him, but I'm not always blown away. But recently I've been blown away, and I was just like telling him that I can't believe that a year's time, like a whole year of him doing his creative work full time has shaped him to be who he is now, and to have like the brain that he has. I am very, very impressed. That was something that I was thinking about, and I get really excited thinking about where I will be in a year's time and like who I'll be by then. But in this rule, I wanted to talk about neuroplasticity, and it's something that I learned on TikTok, actually. I don't like that I'm learning so many things on TikTok, but I do get most of my information fed to me there. The general gist is that your brain is just all these like neural networks, neural connections that are formed and broken and reformed. That neural network is what defines who you are and who you become. And I think the general concept is you have to understand that in order for new habits to form or you to become a better version of yourself, you have to actively make like those micro decisions in your life, whether it's building good habits, like stopping those 5 coffees a day that you drink, or like taking a jog every single morning. Like those small micro things is what forms these neural networks that create who you are. I think a lot of the times we tend to believe that we're not capable of things, or we're not the type of person to do this, or we just aren't capable of this. But all of that is based off of how our neural connections are formed. So you might not be fluent in French, so you might think that you can't live in France, but after a year or 2 years of every single morning studying French for 5 minutes, that will change, and you will change, and you will feel different about your ability to do things. And I think that is really important when it comes to Rule 10, which is just having faith that you will evolve and things will change in the right way in the long run. So I've been talking for so long. I haven't talked like this in so long, and I am not used to it. I remember why I would always get so stressed having to film my podcast episodes, because I always ran out of breath, and by the end of my episodes I sound like I'm like choking on something, but I'm not. I literally just feel like I cannot speak anymore. I also have a potluck to go to after this, so I don't know how I'm going to be able to talk to people after talking for so long, but I'm really glad that we could run through this. I actually wanted to give some short updates too on what I've been up to in this time, because I think it's been like 4 or 5 months of me quitting. Honestly, I've been so busy. I won't bore you guys too much with my life updates. I'm going to give like a very, very brief synopsis of what has been going on. But honestly, I feel like I'm more busy than I used to be, but more busy in the right ways. Some days I do feel overwhelmed. I do wake up and I'm like, wow, I have like 10 things on my plate, but I am very proud of myself, and I'm very happy with how my life is right now. Obviously, things are different after I quit my job, so I don't have that security blanket. I have to pay for my health insurance now, don't get vacation days. There's like a list of stuff, but honestly, I haven't lamented it the way that I thought I would. And with all the time that I have, I've been just like pouring it into things that I feel like are important to me. I've talked about this so many times, but I have been in the pottery studio. I've been investing in like new projects. I did my first commission. I'm trying not to be too obnoxious about all my pottery stuff on my Instagram, but I'm figuring out what short form content looks like, because I've been focusing more on posting short form content, and it's really scary and like really weird because I feel more vulnerable and seen, if that makes sense. But I do also see it as like a new path and like something that I'm investing into. So yeah, I've been doing a lot more of that. I'm really excited to be launching my first ceramic strap. Hopefully there will be more ceramic straps, but in the process I've realized there's so many steps to creating a small business that I wasn't even really thinking about until I started going at it. And a little bit of me is feeling guilty for pushing so much. Like I keep delaying things because I realize there's like a new element or something else blocking me, but I'm trying to get better about that. I know I mentioned that I've been doing short form content. I've also been posting on my YouTube. I feel like my YouTube doesn't get as much attention nowadays because I'm not as active, but for the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to post every single week. I have been loving my videos more. I don't know about my subscribers, and maybe if you watch me there, let me know how you feel about the recent videos. But I think it's just more like life oriented and just about like growth and my new journey. I'm really proud about my last video that I posted, but I think things just have been kind of rocky there because of what I mentioned in Rule 2, which is purging, or maybe Rule 3, I forget which one I said. On the family front, because in my video where I announced that I quit my job, I said that I wanted to focus on family. I think I've been pretty good about that. I literally will be on the phone with my mom for a couple of hours each time because there's always so much to talk about. And I think it's been really nice being able to connect with her, with my grandma, with my dad. I'm actually going home at the end of the month just to see them. And my mom, when I told her I was going home, she was like, why? And I was like, because I want to see you guys. And she was like, just wait until Thanksgiving. And I was like, do you not want to see me? But I think she's just so used to me always being like, oh, I can't come home until the holidays because I'm so busy right now. I just don't have time. yada, yada, yada. So she was very defensive about it. She's like, I mean, if you're busy, like you don't have to visit me. And I was like, I can spare the time. Like I'm doing things that are in my control now. I don't have to like use up vacation time to like see you. This is literally my life. Yeah. And then when she told my dad was like, no, tell her to come like during Thanksgiving. And I was like, why did they have the same reaction? I don't know. Maybe they don't like me anymore. But yeah, I've been trying to enjoy a lot more time with my family, especially my grandma. Yeah, because she has Alzheimer's. So I'm trying to like maximize my time with her. And oh, on the relationship front, James will be back on the podcast. I think I'm going to have him next week. We'll see about that. I've been so happy with our relationship. We've been more on the same wavelength, I feel like, for a while he was full-time creative and I was corporate. We were kind of on different wavelengths. We would have different priorities. We would have different schedules. I would be out of the home. But recently, I've just been able to like see him every single day. And we've been doing things together. Like he literally helped me on a photo shoot for my Timberlands that I made, like the mini boots that I made for Timberland. And I helped him on his photo shoot for his brand launch, which I think is coming also soon. So we've been doing a lot of creative work together, and we've talked about doing more creative work together, like actual active creative work together. So I think it's been really rewarding, and I'm so happy for us. And I'm really glad that we get to be where we are right now. Obviously, we need to figure out some things like our careers and our finances and stuff like that we need to kind of like build up from scratch again. But I've been really happy. And also, I guess on the dating side, relationship side, we have been doing healthy date nights every single week. I've been posting every single weekend what we've been eating. A lot of you guys have been liking it and asking me to do more, but it has been slowly regressing into unhealthy date night. So yeah, I feel kind of bad about that. But that's another example of delayed degratification that I was talking about, where you know what you're doing is not good for you in the long run, but you still do it. And I swear to God, I had the best intentions going into healthy date night. We were literally eating salads for like the first 5 weeks. And then it slowly somehow became like creamy udon, creamy bulgogi udon, and then like pad thai with a ton of peanuts and like peanut butter. So it's just been really unhealthy. Yeah, I'm trying to bring it back into like the healthy sphere. But anyways, on the podcast front, which is the last thing that I wanted to talk about, I am very, very serious about bringing this podcast back. So we're going to be back on the every Friday grind. So I hope to see you guys next Friday. Please stick along. And I know I keep teasing like season 2. I actually have been doing my research and like stuff that I do want to upgrade it. But for the time being, we're just going to be on season 1.5. This is going to be like a little floater season. And right before season 2, I might take a little pause, but that will be in a while. So we will have more guests. We will have more short form. So follow us on our Soju with Sarah Instagram page. I also want to do small things on the Instagram page. I feel like last season I did my best to do it. We had our little like pawducer carousels where I posted everyone's pets and pawducers, but I want to do like more carousel posts, like synopses, little trivia, I don't know, random things, maybe book club. But yeah, anyways, that is all, I think. I hope this episode is not like 2 hours long. It might be 2 hours long, but if that's the case, I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I am so grateful that you made it out today. You listened to the podcast, you showed up. So thank you. And if you enjoy this episode, please like, comment. I had to write this down. There's so many things to do. Please like, comment, subscribe, bell notifications, and follow us on Instagram. And thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye.
Bloopers.
It's bloopers. Oh, I'm so nervous. Ooh. I do need to breathe a lot more. I don't breathe a lot, and I notice that's when I sound very nervous in my podcast episodes. And I think there's several, oh my God. And I think there's several, I can't say this word. I don't know if that's right. Okay, let me see. It's a form of a retinal. It's a form of the stages of, I can't say this.